Now, since we're talking about Amazon, and I see there's like 15 people watching this live, and I am really curious what you folks in the audience think about this one. So please, if you're going to start commenting about a specific story, this is the one you kind of want to comment on, because I am really curious where people stand on this one. But Amazon is seriously considering removing the Dukes of Hazzard from the streaming service because of General Lee's Confederate flag. And in fact, if you don't know what that looks like, let me pull this up. I believe it's their car. I believe it's their car that does this. Yeah, here it is. So this is the Dukes of Hazzard car. And as you can see, there is a Confederate flag on top of the vehicle. And it's there probably because the characters live in the South. Now, I'm going to be perfectly frank about this show and this car. I don't like the Dukes of Hazzard. I think this is an awful, awful show. Do I think it's a particularly racist show? No. I think the flag is there more out of ignorance than malice. I think because there's still people who view the flag as a symbol of independence, when it really isn't. The flag is, from my perspective, a flag that symbolizes slavery and racism, because it's like, yeah, the South wanted to succeed from the nation and maintain their independence, but they wanted to do so primarily because they didn't want to free their slaves. So, yeah, I mean, the two are not mutually exclusive. The flag can symbolize independence, but it also signifies that they didn't want to leave that independence because they didn't want to get rid of their slaves. And as a result, the show has been controversial for a long time, which is funny because this is an awful show. This is a terrible, terrible show, and it's boring. It is so damn boring. Like, have any of you actually really sat down and watched the Dukes of Hazzard? Like, in today. I'm not talking about when you were a kid and it was on TV Land or the local UPN network. Have you really sat down and watched the Dukes of Hazzard? This thing is boring. It's so bad that, shoot, the Owen Wilson and Ben Stiller movie is better. Actually, the Dukes of Hazzard movie is one of the few TV to movie adaptations that's really not that bad. And probably the best part about that is Snoop Dogg as Kissy Fuzz or something, like Fuzzy something. I don't know. He's like a pimp. It's really funny. However, here's the thing. This show, which is truly benign and truly boring, and I don't think anyone really likes it that much anymore, might be removed from Amazon. Now, here's what the story says. The Dukes of Hazzard was one of the more popular comedies from the 1980s, which kind of goes to show we would watch anything. Of course, I lived through the whole Full House getting 8 seasons, so, there you go. But it may soon be taken down from Amazon's IMDb TV streaming service, according to multiple reports. Amazon executives are now evaluating whether to remove the Dukes of Hazzard from IMDb TV because of its depiction of the Confederate flag painted on the show's General Lee race car, Vulture and Variety are reporting. No decision has been made, according to the reports, but if Amazon executives decide to make the moves, the show's 7 seasons could be immediately removed. So we all know why this is happening. We're looking at old things with, new eyes. But my argument for everything has been, look, it's in the past. You can't change the past. It happened. It's a fact. But what you also can't do is you can't be removing the past just because there's elements about it you don't like. Because if you forget that it happened, if you try to remove things because you don't like it, then we will never learn from it. There are honestly people out there who think the Holocaust never happened. And I would hate for us to get to the point where it's like we start removing these books, we start removing these movies, we start removing these paintings, and it's like racism never existed. See, we're good. We're good people. We removed it, and then 10 years later, you have a new generation. They don't even know these images exist, and then they start treating other people that way, and they're not aware of the history that, hey, we've done stuff like this before, and we remember because we don't want to do this again. And here's another thing, and I'm just going to state this right now. When you start removing things, you start making the product so desirable because it's like forbidden fruit at that point. What is it they don't want me to see? What is it that, is so offensive? And they really want to seek it out. Removing Gone with the Wind, even though it was temporary, didn't really do anything except bring attention to the movie and make my Blu-ray worth a heck of a lot more money than it normally would be worth. Can you imagine a lot of people singing the praises of the Dukes of Hazzard from streaming, because you basically can't watch it anymore? And so it's like, it was a classic show, it was a great show, and because this image was in it, nobody wanted to know. It was a bad show. It was an awful show. It was boring. And yeah, its esteem has gone up because we have removed it from circulation. We don't like it when things are removed. Because here's the thing. I'm going to use Gone with the Wind for an example. And that's a great movie, and I love that movie. But was anyone really wanting to stream or watch Gone with the Wind this weekend? Probably not. But now that HBO Max removed it, now everybody wants to watch it. You just bring attention to this thing. And in most cases, it's not even that racists want to watch this. It's just people want to watch it. I was talking to someone on Twitter, I know, bad idea, about Song of the South, and I said, Song of the South really should be released with context, because to keep it out of circulation without context, people think it's the birth of a nation, when it's really Gone with the Wind light, and it's kind of boring. So let's release it with context and move on to real problems again. It's really not that bad. It's bad, but it's not that bad. Let's take away the mystery, let's put it out there, let everyone see it, realize it's really not that big of a deal one way or the other. It's just by far the most awkward thing you're ever going to see from Disney. And move on with your life. Just move on with your life. And he responded, yeah, because now it's forbidden fruit for racists, and once they realize how benign it is, they won't care. And it's like, well, I don't want to go that far, because growing up, Song of the South was like, I wanted to see that movie so bad because Disney said I couldn't. And it became forbidden fruit, and, I have a lot of black friends. I was kind of like thinking, like, how bad can it be? And I really wanted to see this movie. That didn't make me a racist. I was an animation fan. I wanted to see it. And then I saw it, and it was okay. I like the animation sequences a heck of a lot, that's for sure. But, yeah, the live action scenes, that, here's just like a little mini review. The Zippity Doodah sequence is definitely pure movie magic. It's one of those few moments where it's like, oh, wow, that's just so classic. But most of the movie, I don't really care about little Johnny and his friendship with the girl and the boy, and I'm not that interested in the conflict. Can he keep the puppy? Or this is Song of the South, folks. It's really an awkward movie. But now we're doing with the Dukes of Hazzard, and the last thing I want is for the Dukes of Hazzard, of all things, to get this big esteem push because Amazon's removing it, and it's starting to be removed from streaming services. Like, why on earth are we going to give this, of all shows, the attention it really does not deserve? It's an awful show, folks. So let's look at some of the comments. Darn it! No one's commenting on this one. Man, I wanted people's opinion on this one more. Oh well, we'll look at the few people who did say something. So, Jody says it is 2020 and people need to grow up about that. And then she says, I believe Amazon is going to be investigating the IRS also. Yeah, okay, well, I agree with both of them. And yeah, well, in telling people that they need to grow up about it, I don't think that's the solution either. Because if someone looks at those images And you have to keep in mind, again, the Confederate flag on the Dukes of Hazzard car has no meaning other than ignorance. People just, they were making the show, they saw Confederate flags on people's cars, they put it on the car in their show. It didn't mean anything to the producers as far as I'm aware, but you can't tell people to look at that and say, and they say, hey, I'm offended by that, and then you say, hey, grow up. No, I mean, you have to say, well, why does that offend you? And they can explain. It's like, okay, well, here's why I think it's there, and I understand why you are upset about it, but this is what I think it means. I don't think they meant any harm by it, and maybe that's why it is harmful, because they didn't mean any harm by it, and they, it's kind of like that kid that 5-year-old, who on the street hears someone saying, the F word, the N word, the S word, whatever curse word you want, and they hear it, and they don't know what that word means. They just hear these words being said to someone, and then they go home and they say it to someone else, and before they know it, they have hurt someone's feelings. They didn't mean to, but they did because they didn't know what was going on. I believe that's what was going on with the producers. They were just not thinking clearly. And so we can't make the same mistake that when someone looks at it and say, this show offends me because of this, we can't brush it off and say, well, you need to grow up. I believe that we need to say, well, why does that offend you? Why does that hurt you? Let them explain it and say, I understand where you're coming from. Here's why I think it's there, but I understand where you're coming from. And show some sympathy, and then and then maybe kindly suggest that person, if it offends you that much, you probably shouldn't watch it. And, let people come to their own conclusion. The only thing this is going to do, by the way, I'm just going to say this right now, is it's going to make those Dukes of Hazzard DVDs worth a lot of money. Like, if they remove Dukes of Hazzard from streaming services, all those DVDs that are out there, which I think are out of print now, they're going to be worth bank. So, if you, oh my gosh, we're going to make the Dukes of Hazzard worth a lot of money on eBay. I can't believe it. So, Steven says, I don't know about older films I don't know. I know about older films are bad, but still should be shown. And I believe in a good environment. Like I'm not against putting context on these things. I'm not offended. Like, I have a Breakfast at Tiffany's Blu-ray, and Breakfast at Tiffany's. If you've seen it, you might remember a lot of things. You might remember that wonderful Moon River song, that Oscar-winning song. You might remember Audrey Hepburn, and you might remember that scene where she kisses in the rain and they're holding the cat, and you might remember all those things. What most people don't remember, or they kind of choose not to remember, is Mr. Yoshinoya by Mickey Rooney. Mickey Rooney is in yellow face with these big glasses and buck teeth. He's like, and forgive me for showing an example, like, I am not this, you must not disturb me, and it is cringeworthy. It is so cringeworthy. But it's still on Blu-ray, and there is a special feature on there where they discuss the character, the damage it did to the Asian community, and how they no longer feel this way, but how they don't want to hide this and act like this never happened. No, unfortunately, we did feel this way. So, that's my opinion. I don't mind contextualizing things, but once you start trying to censor it, and once you starting to remove it, guess what? People will still find it, and then they'll be finding it without the context. By the way, Donnie is here, and I have not deleted my channel. I deleted my Facebook, and he commented, "I guess we're gonna have to not watch The Color Purple." I don't think The Color Purple has that many people against it. There's just two major issues people have with that. One, it's directed by Steven Spielberg, and two, because of the way it was adapted, it takes place primarily from the women's point of view, which is when the men are at their worst, so it shows African-American men as really bad. But that's one of my favorite movies. I love that movie. But I do agree that Roots is probably next. They will probably remove Roots. Anyway, we spent a heck of a lot of time on this one, more than I really anticipated. But hey, you know what? It's worth talking about, and it's worth hearing from you about. What do you think about this situation? Do you think Amazon should be removing the Dukes of Hazzard, or do you think they should keep it up there, or do you think the Dukes of Hazzard should maybe go somewhere else where it could be put into proper context? I would love to know. Excuse me. Comment below. Like, favorite, share, subscribe, and as always, flame responsibly.